Morning everybody, and welcome to this week's Sunday Q&A. This week's video, we've been discussing driving hours and how sometimes, obviously the driving hours are there in place to make it a safe place, to make sure that you just don't drive, fall asleep at the wheel, crash into a shop, crash into a zebra crossing with like a load of school children on it. They're very sensible. Having said that, as outlined by Van on the Run, sometimes they can have the opposite effect. Sometimes, if you're getting very close to the yard and you're running out of time, it can have the effect of making you drive sort of not as safely as you should, because you're thinking, I've just got to get back to the yard before I run out of time, because I want to park the lorry, I want to go home. If I run out of time, I might have to stop for 45 minutes just to drive the next 2 minutes down the road before I can go home. And it shouldn't be the case, but sometimes it is. So I just thought I'd outline that one. And of course, as always, you guys have got much to say about it. So Paul Waterland says, unsafe driving to base. It's for the driver, and if he drives below an acceptable standard, that's his problem and the company he's working for. Are you promoting best practice for newly qualified drivers? This is all I hear in the video. Paul, what I said, and I stand by it, is the best thing to do, you don't infringe. Manage your time correctly. If you are running out of time, then stop. One thing you don't want to do is spit your card out. In a worst case scenario, if you can't stop for any reason, then you have to get back to the yard, then you take the infringement, you do the printouts, you explain why it happened, and you make sure it doesn't happen again. And that, as far as I understand it, is the code of practice for working. My card is spotless. Very rarely, I might get an infringement, I might get one infringement every 2 months. And it normally is run out of driving time. And it's because I've ended up going to Leeds and then going to pick something up and then get stuck in traffic and I couldn't find somewhere to stop, and then I've run out of driving time. And as my old transport manager said, he said, I get 2 a year. And he was super duper bang on it, Sometimes it can't be helped. And the ministry appreciate that. If you're doing it 3 times a week, they're going to go, what is going on with this driver? Either stop him doing that or get rid of him, or you lose your licence. And that's the bottom line. And something also I forgot to say last week was about spitting out your card. If you do spit out your card and you drive, it will be picked up, because we have to analyse the tacho heads and we have to analyse the drive and the cards. And if the two don't match, so the card says you've driven for 9 hours, but your tacho says you've driven for 10 and a half. It's clear what you've done. You've spat your card out, you've run out of time, you've driven for another hour and a half. That's a massive no-no. So spitting out your card is a definite no-no. That's mainly what I was trying to sort of get across, the fact that if you do, that comes up as falsifying records, and that's a really bad thing to do. But no, I don't promote unsafe practice. All of our drivers, one of them is not super duper, but pretty much they understand the rules, they obey the rules. And the one who's not super duper, it often comes down to other things but we're on that one as well. But no, I think we're on, according to our new transport manager, we're on 0.3% infringements. And he says, wow, he said, that's earned recognition territory. And I kind of went, really? Oh. Didn't know that. So that's another route we might be coming down, I'm sure, in the future videos. But no, I don't, Paul. I don't. We run a super clean ship because I know how hard those operators' licences are to get, and I will not put them at risk. So, Steve Campbell. He says, actually, the driving time only counts when the wheels are moving. When you stop at a roundabout or a traffic light, the tacho goes on to other work and in some cases brake. So if your truck sat-nav says 20 minutes and your tacho says you have 20 minutes left, then in reality, you'll get back around 2 to 5 minutes driving time spare, as the truck sat-navs and all sat-navs tell you how long it will take, which includes time spent at traffic lights and such. Not just driving, however. If you're on your way back to the yard and it's looking tight, just remember that speed cameras ain't everywhere. They aren't, Steve, but they are still recording, aren't they? And the thing still goes 56 miles an hour. So if you're on a motorway, that ain't really going to help you. As for the wheels not moving, sometimes I'll be sitting at traffic lights, it'll be on hammers, and then I move and I go, the clock's still, I've lost another 2 minutes. Where has that gone? It's not 100%, but I know what you're saying. Domain name guy says, every minute counts before the driver gets to work. How you plan your day before the clock, before you put your digicard in at the start of the day. So plan your day, plan before you put your digicard. Well, that's how they work, isn't it? No, you've got to put your card in first. Because you can be wasting valuable time at delivery points. He said the main reason a person runs out of taco time at the end of their shift is because the driver did not overestimate the time it takes to get to the delivery, and because the driver did not, and the time it takes to get tipped. For example, we'll leave 30 minutes extra to the time the sat-nav says to the time you'll be tipped. So what he's saying is, think, well, I'll get there, I'll have that off in 15 minutes, and no, give it an hour. Godzilla said this a long time ago. He said, right, allow an hour to get tipped, and then another hour to get loaded, an hour to get tipped, then another hour for unforeseen circumstances. If you do that, you'll always be fine. I have a tendency to go, I might get this one off. Mind you, it does happen sometimes. I might get this one off in 5 minutes, but I have two things running in my head. In an ideal situation, it'll be this, but what it could be is this, and I have to calculate somewhere in between the two. And on the subject of Godzilla, this is quite interesting, this actually. He says, this is to do with, because Godzilla's is now working at the airport. So he's doing the fueling of the lorry, the aeroplanes, all that kind of stuff. They have their own set of regulations the other side of the airport. I mean, I don't know if that actually counts as being in England, does it? You'll have to let me know. So if you're actually, because they're the other side of customs, so does that actually class as being in England, or is that kind of like international territory? 5 o'clock somewhere territory. So, but he said they have still got their own set of rules. So he says, this is interesting. I find it interesting. He says, did you know that an airside pass at the airport works the same as road regulations, but slightly different? We can get 12 points on our ADP, airside driving pass. Speeding, you'll get 3 points, etc. Basically the same as the real world. The big boy is if you interfere with an aircraft. The guy with the sticks guiding the plane, the sort of the what they call them, the table tennis bats, the sticks guiding the plane in, I've seen airplane, if you get in between the plane and him, you're looking at 12 points and a fun day with the ops manager explaining that, yes, you really are an idiot. It's a ban for 2 weeks if they agree that you're not just a complete tool, and 2 months if not, which becomes a job loser at the same time. One of our lads got waved past by a pilot and got 6 points for the trouble. So the pilot went, you go on there, mate. He drove past him and they gave him 6 points. You could say, but the pilot told me to go. And it's a bit like, yeah. And if the pilot had told you to drive it off a cliff, would you? That kind of thing. This also works if you decide to scuttle past a plane that's got its landing lights on, but it's pushing back. There's lots of fun, like when you leave the vehicle. Hang on a second. When you leave your vehicle, you have to play hide the keys. Otherwise, ops pop along, removes them. Then you have to turn. Then you have to say, please, can I have 3 to 6 points of my keys back, please, for the same joy as manager? I'm not quite sure what that's to do with that anyway. There's also an interesting alongside feature. Other ones cap. Sorry, I'm losing this now. There's also there are couriers who deliver to the airport, mostly dropping off oil from ATRs and tyres for 737s, 767s, 747s. These vehicles are registered by the airports, have a flashing light. They can use their four ways and have done a course for ADP. They rock up and drop for their VRS companies, Jet2, Ryanair, etc. Small stuff gets seriously annoyed about by airport security for an hour, but bigger stuff has to come inside and drop to airside. I can't help wondering that this must be serious primo rates for anyone who considers it. So that's quite interesting, I thought. It's like, so they've got their, so we get 3 points for speeding, 6 points due care and attention, that kind of thing. They get the same driving the little things around airports. That's kind of cool. So, so that was on driving time this week. The second one that's coming up is on the YouTube Shorts, which is, I said I was going to do, the Nick at Undercreate says, I've got to get on Insta. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm going to do some shorter videos. I'm going to do some videos, some shorter videos, which the longer version will be available on YouTube. I'm going to cut up some of my old videos, like Paint Your Wagon, and stick them on, because apparently it's the thing to do. And I might make some shorts, and I don't know if they're just going to go on Insta and TikTok, or they might come on here too, or they might go on there first. And I haven't decided yet, but this, you know, so I put that one out, and I got a response. So Clive Littlewood says, "Hate shorts, just so you know." Yeah, I know, mate. Unfortunately, this is the way the world is going, though. Apparently, the attention span of your average 18-year-old is about 3 seconds. So they ain't going to watch this, are they? Sunday Q&A. I mean, I don't know why anybody watches any of it, to be honest with you. But, you know, so I have to try and cater to the masses in the hope that it might drive some traffic towards this channel. And I still don't know why. I still don't know why. It's kind of 7:30 on a Saturday morning. I've got a million things to do, and I'm sitting here doing this. But I'm quite happy about it, so that's fine. Domain name guy says YouTube videos and YouTube live streams are longer than YouTube shorts, won't feature in YouTube shorts. Oh, he said, yeah, because apparently do they come up there automatically? He said, because he did the one, didn't he? Because he does the Rubik's Cube thing, we did a link. I only make 60-second YouTube shorts these days. 95% of people watch my YouTube videos and find my stuff via YouTube shorts. Do you do Insta and TikTok? You should. Definitely with the Rubik's Cube thing on TikTok. I would have thought that's the way forward. The dance channel. Just Peter, don't waste your time thinking you'll ever earn money from YouTube, and you'll never be able to live off the channels, even with 100,000 views. A video about you get a bit of scratch from YouTube. It's basically beer money per video. Yeah, so keep what you're doing and keep driving the lorry. Well, you're dead right there. I mean, the lorry is obviously the main course. I had a quick chat with a child, because the child's kind of interior design, and she's been on a telly, and she's got mates that do all this kind of stuff, and they understand social media. And she says, it's not, you'll never make the money out of the ads, but you can make the money out of, she calls it partnerships. Does that mean anything to anybody? Which is like, because she knows all these people, and well, I'm in partnership with one of her mates, Cece. It's just something which is in part, and her and Fern Cotton have done some podcast on well-being, mindfulness, colours to make you feel better, you know, smell to get well, all that kind of stuff, in partnership with Samsung. And they've both got pink Samsung phones, and apparently they got a few quid out of that. So, again, just full transparency, guys. In it for the money. Bit of cheddar cheese for Pete. Doesn't really come at the moment, but if you build it, it will come. And 10 years to be an overnight success. And in the meantime, I'm just a horribly egotistical git who's always had, you know, like most people sort of shy away from, I've always been everybody look at me. I'm the star of the show again. Yeah, so I think I just do it because I'm horrible. Yeah, sounds fair. Nuno Sish says, I've dipped in and out of a few of your videos, and seriously, I think you encourage the weak-minded to jump onto the exchange. You really should be careful about this advice you give out. 5 years in the game, still newbie status, my friend. Yeah, absolutely. I'll still say that I've still got an awful lot to learn. It's still, I mean, you know, 5 years is nothing, is it really? And as for encouraging people, I don't necessarily try to encourage people. I've always said it's not a magic wand. No one's going to knock on your door. You get out what you put in, and this is what I got out of it. And I also tried to give a balanced view. I mean, I'm going to do one recently after Friday. My God, my mate Dave says never take the last job. My mate Dave, the taxi driver, never take the last job. But I was finished by 10:30. I started at 4 o'clock in the morning. I finished by 10:30. And then yesterday afternoon, I do your video. I tell you a story. So no, I try not to. I mean, I know that some people say I make it all sort of sweetness and light, but I've got to be honest with you. You know, I'd be quite happy to present myself, and I think I could give a balanced argument and say, yeah, well, let's look across the channels. These are the ones that say it's great. These are the ones that say it's rubbish. I try to be honest. If I'm honest, I try to be honest. And again, people have to take it with a pinch of salt. I also think there is that thing that a man sees what he wants to see and disregards the rest. And if you're headlong, convinced, as you said, the weak-minded, of going for it, you're only going to hear the good bits. You're not going to hear the bad bits. That doesn't mean that I haven't said the bad bits. That just means that someone might have elected not to listen to them. And if they're headlong set on going for it, you can't stop them. Let them do it. Let them discover for themselves. If it doesn't work, they'll move on to something else. You know, it's not brain surgery. It's not life or death. It's the career change that may or may not happen. And if nothing else, it's an experience. That's the way I look at it. And honestly, I don't try to encourage anybody to do this. Do it if you want to. It worked for me. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And on the flip side of things, Jeff Bryan says, the channel is super, Pete. Don't put yourself down. Like I say, Jeff, I try to be honest. I know I ain't a genius. I know I ain't the greatest channel in the world. I know it's not the worst channel in the world. I appreciate anybody who watches it. Thanks very much. What Rain Warlin says, I can see Pete secretly doing dance segments on TikTok. Well, Wayne, if you look, I'll do you a link. If you look at the end of the video on the link, when I was doing the shipping one, there's a little bit of dancing for you. How's that? Yeah, Channing Tatum, I am not. So, this week we didn't really have a lot of we got a little bit of miscellaneous this week. Dale Steele says, Van on the Run has retired from YouTube. As far as he turned the career exchange in. The van thing, he said, didn't really work out in the long run, and he's gone back to trucks. Now, whether he's doing anything on lorries, and if you are Van on the Run, please let me have a link, and of course we'll push it. You know, I know he's driving the lorries. If he's still making the videos or not, I'm not sure. I'm not the greatest at watching other people's videos, I'll be honest, because I've always got so many things to do. I'm looking around, I think I've got a million things to do a day. So. But yeah, if he is, let us know. And finally, we've got the final one here from Domain Name Guy. It says, have a look at the Google driverless car in the States. Type driverless Uber into YouTube, and you'll see a Waymo driverless car being used for the alphabet or something like that. But professional drivers having to pay to go into ULEZ zone and charges, buying electric vehicles. There's nothing stopping Google putting its Waymo driverless technology into trucks at some point. There is. I mean, at some point, everything comes to an end. There ain't no video shops anymore. There ain't no Coleman anymore. The guy who used to come round, God I'm old, with the bottles of Cresta, the bottles of Fanta on the back of his milk float. Don't see them no more, do you? But there's other things to it. I did actually do you a video for you, Domain Name Guy, 1 million years ago on how I see the technology going, and then I never put it out. Don't know why. I might do it again. I just wasn't happy with it. But, you know, eventually, the way I see it, there'll be electric points. Bays in distribution centres will have some kind of electric point, and you'll get particularly if it's a truck that always has to do the same route from Amazon to Amazon. Say Northampton to Milton Keynes, and it knows exactly what it's doing, and it will just dock onto the bay, click, electric charger, thing will go up, things will come off, it will charge, it will go and do the same route. But there's more to it than that, isn't there? What happens if there's an accident on the motorway, and so the driver's vehicle so the sat-nav says you can go this way, and the sat-nav says you can drive down that road, but it can't drive down that road because it's got a low bridge because the sat-nav is wrong. What happens if it's not just bay to bay? What happens when it says it's going to Unit C, and it says it's in Selmore Road, but it turns out it's not actually in Selmore Road, it's around the corner. There is so much more, as I'm sure we all appreciate, to being a courier, being a truck driver. As one of the guys said a long, long time ago, he said, for a solitary job, you have to have an awful lot of people skills. There is so much more to it than just literally turning up and the gear getting tipped. So when it will come, I don't know, and it will come. Will it come in my lifetime? I supremely doubt it. I'm quite old. And if it does, I think chances are I'll be ready to turn it in by then anyway. So that's kind of it this week, guys. Still going? Yes. Right, so in conclusion, this week, Shane Hardy. He says, truck guitars are back. Good on you, Pete. Feeling sorry for anyone on break nearby when you crack it out. Only kidding. No, you're quite right. I'm really awful. But, you know, Johnny of a Million Miles. Start playing now. So I was having a quick chat with Dave as well. I've got to do some finger picking thing. He said he's going to give me some link to someone. I'll share it all. In the meantime, bank holiday. So have a nice rest, get it off, and then hopefully next week should be busy because we've only got 4 days to do all the work before the king gets his crown and we all get to have an unpaid day off. Aces. Well, I've got family coming down. I'm going to have hopefully the sun will come out. We'll have a barbecue. We'll have a nice time. We'll have a rest. And then I've got the rest of the year to take care and take money.